You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
To another episode of the Red Moon Podcast, live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can download the audio version on Thursdays at midnight. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian, and
Beavers. I like beavers.
Like angry beavers?
The bees. Why not? Why not angry?
That was back when cartoons were... I actually never watched that show.
It's funny. I didn't watch it a lot back then, but I've watched it since. It's funny.
I've only, like, that, Cat Dog, I didn't watch those.
That was back when, like, Nickelodeon, like...
It had some competition.
They had some
against
tongue-in-cheek humor that, like... I wouldn't say was, like, something that, like, was wrong for children necessarily to watch, but it had humor that only adults would get.
A precursor for what we have now been seen blatantly put on display at the forefront. They don't even hide it anymore.
It's like, it used to be innuendo, which I was fine with because it was funny. You know, as an adult, you would catch it like, oh, that's funny. And
now you realize, like, oh, no, now there's hidden messages for this is adults.
Well, it's no longer innuendo anymore. Now it's just straight.
Yeah. We realize
in your in.
I know. These adults have been preying on children
climbing in your windows
all these years. Yeah, that's right.
Snatching your people up.
But I hide your kids, I had your wife. That's right. We got a good show for everybody tonight. As if we didn't already just start off with a banger.
That's right.
No, we do. We got lots to talk about in the headlines. Of course, right after we mentioned Disney possibly being saved at the box office. Well, they just got another huge banger of a weekend with Inside Out 2 planting number one again. Yep. Another $100 million to put in the bank. But is it saved morally? No. We're going to talk about that. Mr. James O'Keefe of OMG Media dropped his, two different pieces of video. One dropped today, one dropped last week right after our show aired. Claiming to be some damning footage of inside Disney's deep, dark abyss of just debauchery and depravity. That's right. So we're going to get into all that, talk about that a little bit on the headlines. Have some sad news, though, to start off the top of the show with. And that is Mr. Donald Sutherland passed away this past week.
Sad.
Very sad.
Good one.
Mm-hmm. Found out from a tweet from Kiefer on X. He mentioned that it was
a nice tweet.
It was a nice tweet. Very nice. I wish I should have screenshot it, put it up here. But definitely a man of many years in the acting biz, known for a lot of roles, MASH, more recently the Hunger Games franchise, and definitely will be a missed.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Back in the day. I was going to say.
I think Pride and Prejudice. He was in Beer Fest, and it was hilarious.
I think he was in Animal House, too.
He was in Animal House. He was in Animal House.
He was good in Backdraft.
Was he in Backdraft?
Yep. He was Ronald, the firebug that was in jail for burning people. Yeah.
Oh, well, all right.
He was a good actor.
Have it.
He was, yeah.
Had a lot of good roles.
It's funny because I actually confused him a lot for I confused him for the longest time as Gerber or Gert, whatever his name is, in Die Hard 1.
Hans
Gruber.
Yeah. Alan Rickman.
Yeah. I confused it for the longest time.
I guess not so much because Alan Rickman never turned gray, or at least he did towards the end of his years. But in all of his roles, they dyed his hair black. So,
well, when I was younger, I just didn't. I mean, they're same facial features.
The nose, I think they both have the prominent nose.
But yes, definitely a sad loss. Another great gone. I won't say too soon. I mean, he had a good long life. It was 88. So, 88. Definitely. I mean, obviously, it had not been in the spotlight for quite some time.
Not since, I think, Hunger Games that I can think of. But
definitely a sad loss in the industry. And then, real quick, just got to bring it up because there's not a whole lot to talk about with this headline. Oh, I didn't even make a lower for it. This is your cue, though, Keith. Wait, is the board lit up?
It's lit up.
All right. We had an arrest of this past week. Well, Sorta. He actually was released on bail back on June 3rd at the beginning of the month, but the story just broke recently of the actor who played Smalls in The Sandlot. Got arrested for throwing something through his neighbor's window. And it was like, dude, what are you doing? Oh, y'all missed it.
I don't think it's on there.
Killing me,
There
Smalls.
it is.
I wasn't gonna. Like,
I've been waiting since I heard this story
wow.
break. I was like, we got
it
it.
was on the second page, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. You better be glad Sean was looking
Keith
for
doesn't
it.
go to the second
But-
page.
well, no,
He never does.
No, I went to it. I was intentionally going to hit the wrong one because I knew which one you were looking for.
Oh.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course he was, because that's how Keith plays.
I was just like, as soon as like I couldn't find it, I was about to hit this Twilight Zone one and just let you sit there and stew.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You'd
Well,
have been
thankfully,
like, is
you
he in
weren't the one.
Twilight Zone?
We
Wow.
never get to use
We
that.
That's
never
what the
used
cops
that
said
one.
to him whenever they went to go arrest him. So, I'll just make...
I don't have a lot of. I would use that one all the time too, but I don't find a lot of use for it.
That's right. Gary... Oh, gosh, hold on. Thomas Geary, I think is his name. Guiry.
It's probably Geary.
Geary.
Yeah.
Thomas Geary. He was charged with third-degree assault and battery and malicious injury to personal property on June 2nd, my birthday. The actor, best known for Sandlot, of course, was arrested.
It's like the only thing he did.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. And it's funny because in the mugshot, I
he's,
mean,
you
you got to see this mugshot.
I've
Yeah,
seen
Yeah, I
it,
see
yeah.
him looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still looks like Smalls. It's kind of
Yeah.
funny.
He does.
If he had a hat.
That hat, I always was annoyed
The
by that
long
hat.
long bill.
Yes, it never made any sense, even in that movie. I was like,
It was-
nobody
it was
wore a hat
It was a
like
style
that.
thing back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they had-
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yes.
You serious?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't remember anyone walking around with a hat like
Well,
that.
the movie didn't take place like
It was in like the 50s. 50s or 60s, yeah.
yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be.
Well, how would you remember anyone walking around with a hat like that?
I've
You
seen
didn't live
plenty
back
of
there.
pictures of people from that era, and they never
It's
had
one of
a
those
hat on.
movies where I sit down and I watch it with my dad, and he's like, "I had that. I had one of those. I remember that.
Reliving his childhood.
That and the Christmas Story.
See, his
It's
dad
like,
had a hat like that,
Yeah.
so he knew it was real.
What's weird is that is one of those movies like A Christmas Story where it's like it encapsulates exactly what I remember of my childhood, even though it was a different era.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, again, the idea that you could just run off with your friends and play from dusk till dawn,
Yeah.
or
Better
dawn till
times.
dusk, and it's like just showed up at home and your mom's like, "Where have you been?" or didn't even care, and you were just ate dinner and then went back out and played with your friends.
I would have loved to have grown up like right after the war. Like if I could have been born in the 50s, that would have been amazing. Like that's at one time period that I would have loved to have grown up.
That's yeah. I mean, it's like I don't think anybody would have been like, I wish I could have grown up during the war.
No, well, some people are like, I'd like to have grown up back in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
No,
go
you
through the
wouldn't.
Depression? Why?
Yeah.
Like, why would you want to do that?
It's like the turn of the industrial age
Yeah.
before it was like
yeah, I
made easy.
would have loved to have worked at a soap factory. It's like, no, you wouldn't have.
I ain't gonna lie. Maybe it's nostalgia, and maybe I'm just feeling, glad to have been a part of our childhood. But there's times where I look back on the '90s and I'm like, man, we had it good.
Oh yeah, the 90s were great.
They were.
Yeah.
I mean, just from like the stuff that, again, I see it all the time on timelines and whatnot of like blockbusters, and they're like, man, it's Friday night, you just got off school and this is where you're headed.
Yeah.
Friday night's going to be balling.
Blockbuster movie theater or
That's
movie store.
That's it.
Yep.
Red Giraffe.
Red Giraffe.
Movie gallery.
Nobody talks about Red Giraffe. It's either
I remember-
Blockbuster or Video Vault.
Oh, yeah, Video Vault.
Yes.
I remember Video Vault and Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
I
That was
remember
late. Yeah.
getting Angels in the Outfield, and I swore up and down like I wanted to go in. It was Red Giraffe. Went in to rent it, and I picked it. And I was like, "This is what I want." My dad's like, "I don't think that's the one you want." I was like, "No, this is the one I want." We took it home. Well, there's a black and white old version called Angels in the Outfield.
Oh.
Not the Danny Glover
Okay.
one, and Jason
Jason
Gordon-Levitt.
Gordon. Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah, it's a remake.
or Joseph. Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph.
Sorry,
Yeah, you're right.
Joseph. So I'm like sitting there and I was like, yeah, did not realize that. That totally different movies. Did not watch but 5 minutes and turned it off and was like, I don't want to watch this.
I didn't want to.
But yeah, all right. We got a great show for everybody. We got a movie that we reviewed this past week, The Bikeriders. It was kind of a new one on the block. It was the new one on the block.
Yeah. I mean, it done, I think, some award, like,
Film festivals.
film festival rounds, but it hadn't been, like, in wide release.
Did not do too hot at the box office for a new release. Ended at
That's-
3. but was that because it was bad, or was it because it was out trounced by Inside Out 2?
Inside Out. Yeah.
Based on that type of movie, they're saying it made what was projected kind of a respectable amount, but then compared to its budget, it's like, yeah, you could say that it was decent.
What was its budget? Do you know?
It was
had to be
like
low.
somewhere between 30 and 50. I don't remember the exact.
And how much did it make?
It did around 10 its opening weekend, which is, they said, normal for a film of that type. Like they said, the last Focus Features Regency joint release was Irishman, and it did around 12. So they said that's normal.
Irishman was like $300 million, though, wasn't it? It was like $250 million to make that. Oh yeah, the de-aging.
That's
crap?
its opening weekend. It did, but I don't think that movie made its money back.
No, it didn't.
And a lot of those small independent films don't. That's why when they do have a large budget like that, I didn't think The Irishman had a huge budget though.
I thought
was actually
it did.
impressed with
It might have been like $120 million. I might have blown that up, but I know the de-aging stuff was not cheap. And mainly it didn't make its money
not the
back.
Irishman. I meant the Northman. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. No, huge difference.
Scorsese did the Irishman.
Because you kept saying the de-aging. I was like, there was no de-aging.
No, not in the
but then I
Northman.
realized I was saying the Irishman.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Northman's budget was $70 million, and
that's not bad.
it only made 69, so it technically didn't break even. But
It didn't, because we know that
I don't think
marketing went into that.
this one might break even, but I don't think it's going to be considered a success. I just think it's not going to.
I don't
It's
think so
kind
either.
of dead on impact, really. And I don't think it was a bad movie, but it's just not going to get, I think.
The love that.
Yeah.
Well, let's. I don't know. You reviewed it.
Yeah.
You wrote your review. We got our opinions, of course. We all went and saw it together. So why don't we just roll the
Yeah.
review, and then we'll talk about it after. Here's our review of The Bikeriders.
While Inside Out 2 continues to dominate the box office and save Disney's behinds for a little longer, a film originally set to be distributed under Disney's 20th Century Studios has premiered, distributed instead by Focus Features after pinning a deal with production company Regency. The Bikeriders, starring Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, and Tom Hardy, snagged third place at the box office with a modest $10 million. Considered a respectable release for an art house film, and comparable to past Regency and Focus Features releases such as The Northman, the film's $35 million budget, however, may stop it from being an ultimate success financially, respectable opening or not. Based on the photo book of the same name by Danny Lyons, chronicling the real-life bike gang, the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, through interviews and photography, the film changes the gang's name to the Vandals. Adapted and directed by Jeff Nichols, writer and director of Mud, The Bikeriders is set in the 1960s Midwest, chronicling the rise of motorcycle gangs, specifically the Vandals in the film. What started as a group of enthusiasts, roughnecks, and social pariahs would soon grow out of hand into a legacy of violence and crime. The Bikeriders is evocative of its most known predecessors, such as The Wild One and Rebel Without a Cause, two films which are actually showcased on screen. And while the movie evokes touches from other similar works, such as Easy Rider or even Sons of Anarchy, it never surpasses these inspirations or offers anything unseen in its predecessors. The Bikeriders is fairly straightforward, both in its story and how it handles its characters. Scenes are plucked straight from the interviews and photos held within the book it's based on, and while it doesn't offer a lot of depth, it does at least maintain a feeling of authenticity. The movie is very much what you see is what you get, an attempt at the romanticization of rebel bike gangs long gone from cinema, something created within the films I had previously mentioned. In some ways, the movie's simplicity and failure to evoke strong emotion worked for me. The film, after all, is a story that shows the rise and fall of power and control, from a gang with a loose code of morals to everything people feared biker gangs were to begin with. With this comes a failure to recreate the romanticization of better films, a slightly lackluster attempt that, while unintentional, does kind of showcase the nail in the coffin of that era. Bikeriders probably won't be remembered in the years to come, it'll entertain certainly, and while the acting from all involved is terrific and a few scenes really land, such as Michael Shannon's Vietnam monologue, which seems to be the standout for most who've seen the film, everything else in the movie, while well done and well crafted, is not particularly memorable. an ode to a bygone era that, while interesting and devoid of any of the usual Hollywood BS thrown into modern movies, just doesn't leave a huge impression. I enjoyed the film for what it was and would certainly revisit it in the future, but for many it will be a one and done. That said, I give the Bikeriders 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars for the Bikeriders. Wow, that's a little bit surprising, honestly.
For you.
Well, no. The way we were talking about it beforehand, I'm like, all right, let's.
I mentioned at the theater I liked it enough to give it 3 stars.
No, I know, and I disagreed.
I know.
Sean, what about you? Would you?
Same. I gave it 2.5.
2.5. Yeah.
I ended up landing on 2.5 as well. I think it barely just missed the 3 for me. I think enough, if it had just a little bit more uniqueness to it, I would not have been thrown off by. I won't say it's a straightforward story. There was enough to keep my attention throughout, but it wasn't enough of what I hadn't already seen before. There wasn't enough of an angle on this movie that kept me interested to be like, oh yeah, I'll watch it again.
I do mention that in the review that pretty much any other bike riding movie series like Sons of Anarchy, The Wild One, Rebel Without a Cause, they've all done it before and done it better. I don't know, something about the simplicity of this just really attracted me. Like honestly, it does. It feels like a made-for-TV miniseries or something. Like it's not that special. So I'm probably giving it more props than it deserves with the 3 stars. But something about the simplicity of it and the fact that like you just don't get a lot of just straightforward. Like I feel like Hollywood now has shoved so much garbage down your throat that I liked being able to watch it and it's like, okay, this is pretty straightforward and simple, nothing new. But the characters were engaging and knowing they were real people and that it's pretty faithful to the real story, unlike other modern movies like we were just making fun of with The Hitman or even Ungentlemanly Warfare. I was like, at least this is honest, and I appreciated that. It's just simple.
I think to piggyback off you talking about the simplicity, after reading a little bit about the movie and agreeing that it remained faithful to the photographer, the journalist that followed him around, like I do think sometimes real life just isn't that exciting.
True.
And this movie shows that because it just shows the real story and there's not there's not like a plot. I mean, it's really just following them around and kind of seeing the beginning and even the end of one of the first, major biker gangs. And that's cool. It's just, I would rather, like with Sons of Anarchy or any of the other things that you mentioned, there's, because it reminded me of Almost Famous in regards to like you take it instead of a biker gang, it's a band, and you got somebody following them around. But Almost Famous was
way
fiction,
better.
and it was better because it was it had the fictional element to it, it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I just didn't feel like this had it.
And I think like I just found like kind of the beauty and the simplicity of like it is just life, and so I kind of appreciated that.
I can agree.
Yeah. And I think really, and great, it's not that overtly special either, but I think what like really nailed that home for me was Michael Shannon's little monologue about Vietnam. I was like, this is just real, and I appreciated that.
I did like that, and I was glad you pointed that out in the review. But it's odd because I'm kind of conflicted then because with it being so close to reality, and like you said, sometimes real life just isn't that spectacular. It is kind of boring. But if that's the case, it kind of makes you think, well, why does
this
tell
need
the
to be
story
movie?
Anyway?
Why couldn't it be a documentary then or something?
Or that too.
Yeah.
That too. That would have been at least a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to knock the fact that he was faithful to the story, but unless he had a close tie to a family member that was part of this, motorcycle gang, it really did kind of make it seem like, well, there's not enough here that makes it a story worth passing on. That sounds kind of cruel.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was that bad. It really wasn't. It was, again, there were a lot of character motivations, and honestly, the acting for me, especially from Jodie Comer, is what kept me in it for most of the time.
Yeah.
Her accent comes on a little thick, but you not only get used to it, I think she borders and does a great job of playing a caricature of those people you've heard from that time period and that, with that accent, but also does it enough justice and real enough that it doesn't seem fake or put on just for the role. And she carries it faithfully throughout. Emotionally, it never felt like it was a miss. So big props to her. Same with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy, we were talking about, like, there's so many roles where he has the same mannerisms, but his cadence and how he
even the same voice.
Yeah, the way
he uses that high pitched.
Yes.
He's done that before.
Yeah, he done. Yeah,
but it's different enough that it's unique to the
Yes.
character in this film. And I mean, again, that's just a brilliance of Tom Hardy as an actor.
He had one scene in that movie where, and I forget the guy's name. He has the bike accident and dies, and shortly after that, it shows them in the bar, and Tom Hardy's sitting at the table and tries to speak, and is holding back like everything, even his words. And I'm just sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, that's an actor.
Yep.
Like that's talent, because the everything in that scene, like I didn't until that moment, the film never really gave me an idea of how much he cared about that guy. What was his name? Benny? What was that guy's name?
I don't
that died?
remember. Yeah.
I'm forgetting his name too.
But anyway, it doesn't really give you a huge chunk of emotional, background to understand how he feels about him. But when you see him in that moment, you immediately
feel the weight of it.
Yeah. And I just thought that was amazing acting. Like just that one scene was awesome.
Yeah,
but and there's moments throughout the film that are like that too. Austin Butler had some moments. Even his stillness, I thought was good.
I was gonna say for a character that I've seen in several different types of films, of like a stoic kind of quiet by night. He's the Sigma male. He's the lone wolf of the pack, and also the moments where it's like, and I like the way she describes him, because Jodie Comer's obviously, his wife in the film, but the way she describes him is basically that's all you get for the character. And so she's filling in the gaps from her point of view, and I like that Austin Butler, opposite of that, plays more or less in line with what she's describing, but also there's a mystique. Is there something deeper here? And the director did a good job of at least leaving that open-ended enough for you to wonder, is there going to be some kind of way this plays out in the end? And again, those were the good positive moments. It's just so much was teased to such an extent. I don't want to say teased isn't the right word. I just felt like there were such anticipation for the gravity of what was coming that never landed for me by the end of the film. There just wasn't a huge payoff, and I didn't need some big motorcycle gang battle or anything like that. I just thought the weight of the characters' emotions, as good as their acting was going to land, it was going to land on me a little bit harder than it did.
Yeah.
I just felt a little more apathetic towards, once the credits rolled than I felt like I should have. And that's where it kind of sucks, because it's like, I don't want to knock a movie. As many movies come out that are based on, we just joked about, what was it, Hitman, and the one right before that,
Ungentleman's. I just mentioned them.
We just joked last week about the fact that those films are based on true or inspired by true events.
Somewhat true.
Somewhat. And then with this one being so faithful to it, it almost makes me wish you would have taken bits and pieces and then made up something a little bit more interesting and meatier, and not said it was based on any true story, but just made a good fictional story that still had some parts in reality. But again, I don't want to knock it, because it actually did play faithful to, the story it was trying to tell. It just unfortunately wasn't that interesting of a story. So again, a little bit on the low end for me, 2.5 out of 4.
Yep.
I didn't hate it, but also was not one that
I'll watch it again.
Yeah, I will.
See,
for sure. I definitely will.
Definitely just it's kind of in the I'll forget about that one. I won't remember it. Alrighty, guys, that's gonna do it for our review. Let's move on to our headlines. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's just get it out of the way. Let's talk about it. Disney cannot be saved. So I only named our episode that simply because last week the positive news of Inside Out 2 coming out and landing at the top of the box office, becoming a juggernaut, clearly going to be the first film this year, maybe the only film that crosses the $1 billion mark.
And I know we said it'd be the biggest release that week, but we also didn't think it was going to pull Barbie numbers, and here it is pulling
Here
Barbie
it is.
numbers. So
we're wrong.
I can eat my hat on that one.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's
But-
not one of those big bill hats.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of hat. That's a lot of head to hang your hat on. Just saying.
That's a lot of hat to hang your head on.
There you go. There it is. That's it.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't
anymore.
either. You've gone sideways.
It's terrible. You had to get it in there.
Well, I just figure, we'll cut up the chaos with a little more chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
That way we can get back on track now.
So the reason we teased last week as Disney Saved was because, all the doom and gloom from box office numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But it turns out the rot goes way deeper than just bad films on the silver screen. It's obviously those in the executives at Disney, the C-suite at Disney. It seems like the DEI has infested all levels of Disney. And we got some proof, like we mentioned at the top of the show. Last week, James O'Keefe released a video that was pretty damning. Again, I know we were talking about it a little bit before the show. You all didn't seem to be too surprised with what
I didn't think it
came
was
out.
anything surprising. Because again, it's something I think we were already aware Disney was doing, but
Here's
at
the-
least it is admittance from somebody. Like it's not shocking in the sense that I thought it was something I wasn't aware of, but it is damning in the sense that now it's straight from the horse's mouth. Even though I'm sure someone will still deny it.
I was going to interrupt you and say, here's the thing, and do that. But no, I think it's like, it's sad that I feel like 10 years ago, we would look at something like this and it would be damning.
Yeah.
Literally, it would be company ending proof. Nowadays, I just don't feel like it's that damning.
Oh, there's people that are going to praise it for sure, too. Like, not us.
And I think
but
that's where I'm at with it. It's like, it is pathetic.
Yeah.
That they're just outright saying, yes, there is racism. There is this DEI initiative is pushing the LGBTQ alphabet agenda.
Or if you're
on
white,
everybody.
you won't get hired.
Yeah, if you're white, you won't get hired, and all this stuff. And I'm like, that's everywhere. Like, I mean, it's kind of like I've become numb to it. Like,
which isn't good either, though.
no, that's what
to
I'm
be
saying.
fair,
It's
because
it's
when
bad,
you become numb
but
to it,
it's
that's
like,
when you start
I
just
guess
accepting
that's why I'm not
things that you
surprised, is because I'm just like, I mean, who isn't doing this?
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of why, if anything, this, it's funny because I think kind of what you said before we were in the live show, Keith, you were talking about how it's not that this is anything new to either one, people who follow it, or two, if you're on social media, and obviously no major, because I think that it is partly the generation we're in now and the 24-hour news cycle just being rampant, whether it's just one chaotic hit piece after another or breaking news after another. It's kind of like we're all being bombarded left and right all the time.
Yeah, you forget, after 24 hours, whatever it was you heard in the news is gone.
Right, there's something new
what's
that's
gonna happen
even
tomorrow?
more, right.
Yeah.
But I think the difference here is also that while it is to try to bring things back into focus with these corporations not being held to account, or like you said, hearing it from the horse's mouth, it's things we all speculated, we all easily could see a mile away, with it being intrinsically woven into the fabric of their all their major flops within the last few years. But to hear someone at the company who and again, we'll have the videos to both. There's two videos that dropped. One dropped today, one dropped last week.
And
we'll have them both
vice
linked.
president. So, to hear a vice president say, "Oh yeah, if you're white, you don't get hired or promoted," it's like, oh
yeah. And I think it was funny because I know we had a little bit of a disagreement also before we were live on air about how, he seemed like, it's weird. I don't think he was upset by it. I think, again, he sees himself as this like white knight of, well, I already know I'm not getting any further in the company because I'm white, and they've strictly just pretty much told me out point blank, hey, you're not moving up any higher. We're not looking for a white guy. But he's not quitting and going anywhere else. He's been there 10 years. He's not wrapping up. And
He's going somewhere else now.
Probably.
It's like that senior vice president position's
I think, too,
going to be going out the window.
The fact that he's senior vice president of 20th Century Television,
Yeah.
that if he was there 10 or 12 years. He was there before Disney
owned
bought
Fox, yeah.
20th Century.
Now I don't know.
So
That's not clear. We don't know if he was part of Disney and then they moved him into that role after they
that's true.
bought
Yeah.
20th Century Fox, or if he was part of 20th Century Fox and
Yeah.
just came on. Now,
We
granted,
can find that out.
that's talking points that Disney could easily throw that way. But
Yeah.
even like, again, you had mentioned this before we were on the air. You specifically were like, Disney's not even going to placate anybody's feelings on this. They're not going to give it a time of day, because all they have to do is basically say, oh, this is hit piece journalism, or not even journalism. This is a hit piece designed to take us out. We're not going to be bothered with this, blah, blah, blah. Really what I think this is for, and this is what O'Keefe does to such an extent, and what he did previously at his former employer, Project Veritas.
Yeah.
He does a good job of building up what you already know, but putting it on blast so that it gives you the cannon fire you need to build movements to further invigorate, I think, normal everyday people to say, oh, this is crap that I'm supporting if I either still subscribe to Disney Plus or if I go and see their movies.
Yeah.
There's basically an underlying effort to thwart any kind, or to basically support a company that is outwardly racist.
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting that it's like, I don't think he's trying to obviously unveil anything that we hadn't heard before or didn't already speculate. But like you said, when you hear it coming from someone who is a higher up, it kind of takes it takes you back a little bit, because you're like, whoa, all right. This is a little bit more different than just hearing speculation or rumors that can easily be denied. You can't deny when you have somebody hired on at your company directly speaking about the company's internal struggles.
Yeah.
The fact that he mentions in the video specifically, he's like, we're dangerously playing close to where there could easily be a lawsuit filed soon, and I think it's coming.
Yeah, how they changed the wording around to specifically avoid a lawsuit.
Right.
Like, instead of saying we're not hiring white guys, he says, we're not hiring any of the usual suspects.
Right.
And it's like, well, that can't be in a court of law.
And here's
you can't
the thing.
say that that's racist.
And we know that Disney is such a huge company that they can fight off lawsuits here and
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if there's any inkling of enough disgruntled employees or past employees that basically feel like they have either a class action lawsuit or something that they can bring against Disney to say, we have proof now that one of your guys is on camera, he worked for your company from this time to this time, and he explicitly is saying, how do I know that I wasn't a victim of this racist hiring practice? And if Disney can come out clean on the other end or defend themselves successfully in court, it not only does damage to your brand putting that out there, it does damage to you financially, because that's a lot of money now that you have wrapped up in lawsuits, in court fees. And trust me, Disney does not want to be there. That's why they settled with the state of Florida when they were pushing that BS back then, after having the Reedy Creek district removed from Governor DeSantis. And you have to think, when they start having to fight fire with fire, Disney has one means. We just had a report last week before the Inside Out numbers came to light, that Iger is specifically tired of flop after flop after flop. Yeah. Inside Out 2 being a huge hit is great. I'm sure that it's great for them and they're happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
But you need more than just one successful hit when you're as big as a company as Disney is. Yeah. And they can't just survive indefinitely on that one movie. You got to keep coming back with more and more hits. Yep. And I think when you have all of this negative press surrounding you, it's a lot harder.
It is
to do.
I think until, because they can, like I said, like we mentioned when we talked about with Inside Out 2, I think that was just more of a kind of a play it safe mode, where this is a known IP that we've had so many flops, we don't want to lose money on it, so we'll go the safer route and not be as woke. But does that, like we said, mean Disney's changed? Well, obviously not, because from the higher ups down, they still have a lot of issues with like the things like their hiring with the DEI initiatives and things like that. And until they change their mindset completely, because like you said, it's not enough that Inside Out comes out and it's a huge success. It was already beloved IP that people were going to give a chance to anyways, I think. And then once they find out it was fairly safe, then more people went. I think this weekend's proof of that people are like, oh, this is great, let's go. But what happens in the future when they have more original studios? What happens with Star Wars, which is still, yeah, it's like you could say it's like, oh, they have this one thing, but you still, Star Wars is not looking to be changed any. Marvel,
there's going to be an Andor season 2, and it's the lowest.
I thought that came out already.
I don't think so, because I just read an article the other day that was about all of the actors from Rogue. There's a lot of new actors. There's a lot of actors from Rogue One that are going to show up in season 2 of Andor.
Yeah, because it was planned as just a 2-season story. Like, that's all
but
there was still,
it's like it's the lowest streaming numbers of any show on Disney Plus is Andor, or any of the Star Wars shows.
Yeah, no, it's true, but it's also
season.
one of the most loved by the people who did see it. So I guess maybe that's why. Like, they're like, oh, we can convince people. Look, we're still making actual traditional Star Wars with Andor. So if you like that, you can watch it. Like, we'll placate you with that.
I just don't think there's any kind of hope at all with regard to them ushering any kind of changes. I mean,
no.
If anything, that's kind of what is the most glaring thing about this, O'Keefe video release is it just shows you a company that is rotten to the core. I mean, even the video he released today was about the C-suite, and it was the opposite. Yeah. It's like we're hiring all these diverse initiatives. He specifically mentions they have spreadsheets for each department to make sure they meet certain diverse quotas. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the C-suite executives, no, you have to be pretty much a Jewish man. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's talking about it as he's an Indian. Yeah. You can tell, and I don't mean like Native American Indian. I mean from the country India. And it's funny because he's sitting there talking about this, and you see him almost in the opposite regard of the other, pathetic white dude sitting here saying, yeah, they're just, there's no roles for me higher than where I'm at now, just because I'm a white guy. But hey, that's, that's the name of diversity. It's like he's kind of going, he's drank the Kool-Aid. He's okay with it. This guy's talking in terms of, no, there's still glass ceilings that need to be broken. Yeah. And that's the C-suite, because that's just basically for Jewish men. And he even specifically, and this is, he's getting fired after this. He was like, do you think Iger is corrupt? Like the girl that's on the date with him, and he straight up says, yeah, I do. So
I haven't seen that one yet. So.
I think it's interesting because even O'Keefe kind of puts the backdrop of what we've discussed on the show a few months ago about the Nelson Peltz and the buyout and them wanting to change up the board and strategically go in and replace the rot that is there. Yeah. It's like, no, they're all insulated, and they've all got the right spin on the major shareholders to vote them in continuously to say that they're the right ones to chart this course.
Those in power don't want to lose power. I mean, we talk about that with we talk like that with the government. Look at all these old fogies in the Senate and in the House of Representatives that refused
the geriatric home on Capitol Hill.
And they're on both sides of the political aisle too. I think that's kind of what with this video. I think it's funny. Like Fox hasn't ran this. I haven't seen anything about it on any of the major like conservative networks, but the smaller ones are, and it's kind of like I'm trying to think what I was going to compare it to. I had it earlier, and then it's like the trans shooter in Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's like that was huge for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Then nobody talked about it.
Yep.
Even on the conservative side, nobody talked about it anymore.
Honestly, I think Matt Walsh from Daily Wire and then there was
Steven Crowder has stuck with it too.
They're the only people who continually kept asking and
where's the
begging,
manifesto?
where's the manifesto?
Yeah, right.
Exactly, you're right.
But I think this will be the same. I think it's going to be huge on X for a week or two as he drops more videos, and then I think it will just kind of go to the wayside. And if Disney is silent about it, then it'll just go away. I think it's in Disney's. I think it's against their best interest for them to actually come out and even defend it. Yeah. I think they'll just be completely silent.
And they have to be because again, this is the rot to the core of not just within Disney's upper echelon. This is the access media in general. This is what we talk about corporate media, whether it is Fox News or any other conservative outlet. The fact of the matter is that any of the right-leaning conservative outlets who may put a spotlight on this, they know that they're going to give it attention because rightfully so. It's a news story like anything else, and it deserves it. But you're not going to get any from your major players. And so all of them, I mean, Disney knows that all they've got to do is just sit there and keep quiet, and this is all just going to be swept under the rug. But what they can't, and this is, again, a point we brought up on the show multiple times, they can't continue to ignore this and sweep it under the rug, if it continues to mean that the hiring practices they do have, regardless of how illegal they are, unless there are lawsuits that come forward, and like I said, it's a huge class action lawsuit, or other individuals that sue them to high heaven, and then they just have to come to terms with it, and it breaks because it ends up becoming a major story that they're spending all this money fighting, or that they even lose in court. If heaven forbid, not heaven forbid, heaven praise, that if Disney were to lose in court to one of then it has to be mentioned. Mm-hmm. The news stations can't cover that up, but the other way in which they lose is at the box office.
Yeah.
Because again, unless you have a string of Inside Out 2s that are just making billions of dollars, they're not in the heavy-hitting Infinity Saga days.
Nope.
They're not in the everything that they put out there strikes gold. They have had miss after miss after miss. You have projects that they're $60 million an episode for The Acolyte.
Yeah.
I forget how many Godzilla minus ones that is. Nerdrotic keeps reminding me.
That's about 6 because it only had about a $10 million budget, 10 to 12. So I mean, you're roughly looking about like they could have made 6 of that movie.
And you're talking about an Oscar
or one
award-winning
American
worthy
Godzilla
film
movie.
I don't know.
Half of an
I would
American
say, yeah.
Godzilla movie.
I mean, I would take Godzilla and Kong New Empire over The Acolyte.
Oh yeah.
As terrible as it was.
A lot of people would. It's in the rating. I mean, the fact that it's lower
It's
than
the lowest
holiday special of Star Wars.
Hey.
But they keep backing it. They
Hey.
keep praising it.
Yep.
And that's what I don't
I feel like that's
think
insulting
this is-
to the holiday
I
special.
don't think this will go anywhere because of that.
People are like, it's
like-
lower than that, but
They'll
it's-
double down on it. I mean, if anything, Disney would come out and say, that guy's right. We're tired of hiring white people. We need more diversity. We need more representation, and that's what we're going out and doing. They'll double down on it if they do anything.
No. Well, that's
That's true.
what they've been saying. They will double down in the most legal way possible that they can. Because they can't have it on record that they're not moving you up because of your race. That's strictly, obviously, unconstitutional. However, they can do it through legalese in certain ways because, again, all of these of what's being said in this OMG, released video could be easily thrown away as hearsay from one lone employee. They don't have anything
It's
of
just
record.
a disgruntled employee just spouting off nonsense.
Right. Right. They could easily say that and just toss that aside. That's how they get out of this mess. The difference is, again, when an actual legal lawsuit is brought forth, or they continue to lose at the box office because their DEI hiring practices don't equate to anything but the likes of The Acolyte, and people do bash it because, look, they can come out and praise it all they want. They can have the critics in their back pocket because it's a DEI initiative piece of crap that has an 80+% on Rotten Tomatoes, where the viewer score, audience score is 14, no lower now. It's I think dipped down to 13%.
That's crazy.
But if it's 13% approval, Disney cannot ignore that for long. They can't. They financially cannot expect people to trounce on not only their brand, but have something that people just are not consuming for that amount of money. It hits them way too hard in the pocket. And their stock is trading so low that it just, over in the long run, it's unsustainable.
Yeah, they know they can't, and that's exactly why I think we got something like Inside Out 2, because again, it's like, well, we got to try to save face somehow, but until, and people have to stick with it, because that's what's annoying, is you'll have the people that watch Inside Out 2 and be like, oh, see, Disney's fine,
fixed.
fine,
Yeah.
and then they'll go and they'll
See the Lion King or Mufasa or whatever it's
and
called.
they'll do all this, and they'll still,
It's,
still give them their money for garbage, and then Disney will pull one over and limp on for a few more years until people really say no. Like, we need to buckle down until Disney learns their lesson.
Yeah.
And I mean, people are starting to. I mean, they lost several Disney Plus subscriptions after The Acolyte went live because people would have just said, I'm tired of this crap. I'm not subscribing to Disney for Star Wars anymore because I'm not getting Star Wars. So they lost subscribers. And I'd have to look up the account. I know Nerdrotic actually mentioned it too, how many subscribers they lost. And it was after the premiere of Acolyte.
Yeah.
So they were
because
directly...
people signed up just to watch.
They signed up to watch Star Wars and was like, this isn't Star Wars. I'm not taking this crap. So they canceled.
Yeah. No, and honestly, I think too, it's interesting because not only is that not working in their favor, I think you're right. You got to keep the pressure on. I mean, that's why while this OMG drop is nothing surprising, especially for us who've been following this for years and who've seen the things like the Acolyte before the Acolyte dropped that have trickled out from Disney. It's keeping the pressure on, though. It's, again, there is that saying, of course, that, there is no such thing as bad press, that, as long as but trust me, for a media company whose entire brand is deteriorating before our eyes because they are just eroding away any consumer confidence that they never even had to, like, it's actually kind of quite brilliant how much damage Disney has done to itself and shot itself in the foot in the last 5-6 years, because they've not only rebranded themselves under this woke DEI banner and made that their priority at the forefront, but it's incredible that they have wanted to completely just destroy this brand to that degree, and that to the extent that they've gone and have been able and capable of doing. And look, whether that was the intention of course, these people who just want to get rid of one of the most American brands out there, especially for families and children, that could be the evil pursuit of a lot of these, woke crusaders. But I also think it really happens to end up being more so they do believe they're not original. They have to go in and take over these companies that are already established, that already have good consumer. I mean, this is exactly what we saw a year ago with the Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light incident, where they go in and they completely infiltrate and inject their own ideology into these brands that they know are uniquely, catered to either a right wing or conservative base, just to erode away the confidence or try to destroy it, or either to try to completely shift it. And I think Disney, sadly, is one of those that it's like, I don't think it's. I mean, no company, regardless of what you think, is, untouchable. No. And Disney's realizing that now, and I think they can't sustain this indefinitely. So it's not only about just keeping the pressure on, it is about wounding them where it hurts in their pocketbook, but it also is simply about continuing to keep bringing this stuff to light, whether it's surprising or not, to keep it in the news cycle, because there are people who are paying attention, and there may be someone who saw this for the first time somewhere on their X headline or on Facebook, and they're watching it and they're like, oh my gosh, can you believe this is happening at Disney? Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's happening in a lot of other places too. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's like, not that I wasn't convinced before, but really after seeing these videos, it's like you almost do need a clean house approach with Disney. And if you don't have it, it's going to be a slow death and spiral into just completely destroying any kind of confidence and any kind of hope for Disney returning to what it once was.
Yeah, I think this definitely, there's a war on the family, a war against the family.
100%.
And it's kind of like, I mean, it just reminds me of an instance in any war. It's like if there's an ammunition depot that's feeding bullets to this army, to our enemy, we got to blow up the depot. And I feel like Disney has always been this thing that's fed families and even held families together. I mean, it again, like you said, it's ingrained in just Americana. It's like it was a family company. And that's where its focus was, on good, wholesome content. And it's evil, pure evil, that's saying we have to destroy the family, the traditional family. And one of the best ways to do that is to bomb the ammo depot. And that's to bomb Disney. That's to take something like that away from the family and replace it with the indoctrination that you've been talking about. Yeah. And I think it's the devil getting us from the inside out.
And to be clear, you're speaking metaphorically. You don't want to actually blow up Disney.
I want to bomb Japan.
Whoa. Cut the laugh. Joking.
Just feel
like, I don't even know where that came from.
FBI knocking on our door. We got reports that bomb Disney and blow up Japan.
I'm referring to actual history that happened. I know you want to take it out of the books and take it out of the schools, but it did happen.
He's just got to throw on his Smalls hat.
Yeah.
And he, just right after the
war.
Look,
pull that bill down. You won't even see me.
Godzilla -1. Okay. Well, some of us did anyway.
But it is. It's a tactic.
You're right.
It's the devil's tactic. And he's waging a war against the family, and Disney is a great place for him to infiltrate
100%
and get the kids. Because that's what the rainbow community's been talking about for decades, is we've got to get the kids.
Yep.
We got to get them young. And who else could be behind that other than the devil? Come on.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. I mean, and that's the thing. When you look at this and you abstract it out and you go to a spiritual level,
Yeah.
it's absolutely 100% a spiritual warfare incident. I mean, this is no doubt something that is, I think, the enemy at play, the devil at play in our world, using the forces of evil to try to erode away and get rid of a uniquely not only American company, but yes, a one that is family focused and one that was for so long enshrining family in our society and in our culture and making it a positive, a net benefit. And it is being chipped away at, and all it has taken is sadly one decaying generation to come in. And again, I do fault Bob Iger for this.
Yeah.
He's the one that's overseen this. I don't know why you're
I'm chuckling because now I'm thinking of like the whole Bud Light thing, and I'm like, now Bud Light, that's not a family company, but it's still being infiltrated in that regard. But I'm like, that's not one of those wholesome Americana things. But
was not to destroy a brand. That was to completely change a brand.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think they were not. That was the opposite.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it did. Because rednecks want their beer, and they don't like trans people.
Which is it's funny, and I think we're all in agreement here. We were kind of cheerful the fact that it's like, well, Bud Light's crap beer anyway.
Yeah.
Screw it. It's awful.
The general demographic that drinks Bud Light are more of your red-blooded, like, right-wingers. So it's kind of funny that it's like...
And how much more competition popped up when that happened.
Oh, yeah.
When people started leaving Bud Light on the shelves, that's when Hulk Hogan's got his own beer, real American beer.
I'm going to try that.
And there was another... Ultra Right beer,
yeah.
And there's all this new competition popped up.
Well, and it's funny because they said Modelo moved into ahead of...
that's a Mexican beer, but it became number one for a little bit.
Well, but it's funny because I think Modelo is owned by Anheuser-Busch.
Most of them
they
are.
distribute it here in America.
Yeah.
People don't pay attention to that when they start moving. They're like, oh, I'll just buy this beer instead. It's like, sorry, that one's owned by the same company.
Yeah.
Like, go buy a freaking local brew. Okay, local breweries, they need your help, and there's
people don't
such
know what
better
real
beer.
good beer is.
I know. They don't. They really don't.
Yeah.
But no, back to Disney. Ultimately, don't think they can be saved. The only way they can be saved is if you clean house, and either they're bitterly clinging. I think you have. It's kind of a war within the company themselves. You have the woke ideologues who are in that middle tier, whether it's that senior vice president we caught on tape who is willing to go along to get along because, hey, he's got his position locked away. He doesn't care if he moves ahead. But he knows what the gig is, and he realizes, well, this is part of my fight to, be a cultural crusader.
That's
right. And then I think you have the C-suite upper echelon who are just trying to maintain power and cling and hold on to it, and just hoping that this will either all bog down or move. They'll move beyond it in years to come, and they just gotta pump out a few more inside outs. That's
out the storm.
And so I really do
this
think
fat will go away eventually.
It's a war of attrition. It really is, and I think that they're both fighting to gain ground here, and I don't think it's working in the company's favor. And overall, I just don't think, in the grand scheme of things, you're going to win back the favor of many parents who are going to want to see Disney succeed. You've already tarnished it. You're right. About right. About
and
right.
I don't hate Japan. I'm just going to go ahead and clear that up.
Put it on
okay.
record.
Not anymore.
I prefer America. I prefer America, but
That's right.
some days when I see what those in power are doing, I'm just like, man, is this even America anymore?
No, the Japanese are more American than we are now.
I mean, a lot of cultures, a lot of Western cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where the rot is. Sadly, we've taken this idea and this approach of what freedom is to the nth degree of like, it's free to just be debaucherous and complete. I'm like, that's not freedom. That's not. I mean, freedom is
that wasn't
has
the
responsibility.
idea. That wasn't the idea to begin with.
No, it never was. Alrighty, I think we're moving on to our final headline before we get into our vices topic. And we got to mention this because we followed this story. So anytime something else comes up, we gotta talk about it.
I personally find it hilarious. I mean, not for the victims, but just the fact that, gosh, we're talking about Alec Baldwin. I guess we should just before we beat around the bush again.
He was horsing around with a gun.
Yeah, and I'm just like, how many times can they deny? He didn't. Like, allegedly,
evidence, or at least I forget how it was worded. I gotta read a little bit of the article here and pull it up.
Yeah, I have it. If you want,
go ahead. Go ahead.
Because it says a new court filing
In a new court filing, prosecutors have revealed some of the allegations against actor Alec Baldwin that will be presented in this upcoming trial. The 66-year-old will stand trial in conjunction with the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Let's see. The actor maintains the gun misfired and he never pulled the trigger. But new reps for Hutchins claim Baldwin engaged in unsafe behavior on the set. New court documents claim Baldwin asked for the biggest gun available and proceeded to mishandle it during filming. The documents prepared by the prosecutor state that the 30 Rock star used his gun as a pointer directing crew members and okay.
That's what I imagine.
And yes,
Imagine
it's like,
him,
you go over there.
You know how they
you.
take the gun and they go and throw it over the other hand and throw it over the other hand. That's what I think of him doing.
He just direct. Well, he was pointing it and directing, like, "Hey, you go stand over there." But then it says, and he discharged the revolver after the filming was over and cut was called. So basically, when they called cut, he just went pow, and I'm just.
That's a wrap.
And the thing is,
Check the gate.
now, if true, because then he can say all it, because I know people are like, well, they're an actor, they don't know the proper way to handle. Well, first of all, you should never point a gun at anybody, actor or no actor. Two, you
Real
could
or
say,
fake?
you could say, yeah, that there were blanks in there, but blanks are not 100% safe either. Yes, they may be 99% safe, but it only takes that 1%. Ask Helena Hutchins' poor family. So.
Not to mention, I mean, he's wanting to start a reality show with his wife to try to save face. And Hannah Gutierrez Reed already pled guilty and is serving 18 months in prison. She didn't even fire the gun, and she didn't kill anybody.
So right here,
I know
also
she's guilty.
He didn't point a gun at anybody.
But he's the one that pulled the freaking trigger.
Well, this is crazy, too,
Give
'cause
me
it-
the biggest effing gun you can find.
It also states right here, Baldwin stands accused of pointing the gun at a crew member and firing a blank round while using that crew member as a line of sight as his perceived target. So even that in itself, that you fired a blank, and you could say, well, it's just a blank. Okay, the fact that you pointed
A
it
blank
at
is what? Isn't that what killed her? Was a
No,
blank?
no,
it was a live
It
round.
was a live round. But
Okay.
even still, you never point a gun and pull the trigger at somebody like that.
And here's the thing, rightfully so, that, as I think is it second-degree manslaughter? They list the charge that Hannah Gutierrez Reed was
That may be
convicted
further
of.
down. Yes.
No, it was up. Is
Guilty
it
of
further down?
involuntary manslaughter.
Involuntary manslaughter. And look, rightfully so. She was the one that was in charge of making sure that there shouldn't have been any live rounds on set. The fact that there were any actual real ammunition, real bullets.
Yeah, that somebody didn't do their job right.
Inexcusable. But as much as she's already serving her time and been convicted, and yet here we are almost 3 years removed from this. The woman is dead and in the ground, cold as could be.
Her killer's just making reality
here's
shows.
Alec
That's what I was gonna
Baldwin.
say. She gets 18 months. He gets a show.
Yes.
It's like, where's the? I mean,
And if these accusations are true, any one of them, it doesn't have to be that all of them are true. If he did any one of those, it's like, yes, that was he was being reckless with the gun.
And
that's damning.
The most recent was when they came back to finish filming. He specifically said he didn't have to go through any on-set training or safety course. You know, he's too good for that.
Yeah.
So
Why does he know how to properly handle a gun?
a year after
So he
this,
might not accidentally shoot someone?
pretty much a year after this woman's dead, and they return to finish filming this movie, and he's just like, I don't need no safety protocols. I'm good.
he's like, it's obvious. I know how to use it.
Yeah.
It's like, I already killed somebody. What else? What's the worst I can do now?
I can make it look real.
It's exactly what he's thinking. He's like, well, somebody's already dead. It doesn't matter.
It's like, I already know what not to do now. I'm
What else
good,
could
guys.
Yep. It's like, that was what you don't do,
jeez.
guys.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Now that I know not to do that, I'm good. I don't need training.
I'm telling you, man.
I just
It's.
Gosh.
I mean, it is like Nathan's. Saying that it's hard to laugh at, but it's.
yeah.
It really
It
is
sad.
comical.
It is sad.
I mean, it really is that our justice system's like. The only hope I have is like these new court filings. Obviously, when this was in court last time, they dismissed everything, didn't they? Because they said,
well, that was the state.
Yeah.
The state originally had a case, and then the DA or the attorney general or whatever ended up dropping it for whatever
They got
reason.
paid.
This is, I believe, a lawsuit that's being filed on
The
behalf of
family.
Helena Hutchins' family.
Okay.
So they're going
This is
after him
different, yeah.
after, I think, something, and I forget the story completely, but there was other things that were revealed or he said or something that came out after the state dropped the prosecution,
yeah.
and then that was when they decided to file charges.
Okay.
And so now this is a whole nother case being brought forth by her family on behalf of her family, and so that is what is, I guess, evidence is being gathered now for that to set a trial or bring to trial. I mean, I hope that there is some justice here and that Alec Baldwin serves time. It's absolutely... It is. It's criminal, and like you said, it is injustice of our justice system that a man unwilling, whether it was not intentional, clearly, but that Alec Baldwin shot somebody and killed her and will not have any time behind bars. It's absolutely insane. This is ridiculous. It's just a mockery of justice, if anything. But I'm sorry, what was Nathan saying in the chat?
Just about how it's just so insane, but it's kind of hard to laugh at because somebody's lost their life. But I wasn't defending, or I wasn't
I'm not
saying that
laughing
we're
at
making fun
what
of
happened.
that
I'm
fact,
laughing
but
at-
it's just comical. The justice system. It's like
I'm laughing
how
at
is this-
the stupidity of Alec
Yeah.
Baldwin and the incompetence of the justice system.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at the fact that someone died.
It's better to
crazy.
laugh than to cry in this
Yeah.
circumstance because every time something new comes out, whether and again,
When is this movie
alleged-
coming out?
You know what? It would
I just thought of it. It's
I don't.
probably after the season finale of his reality show.
yeah. Well, you have to in the first episode. He'll have to promote the movie.
Yeah, he'll have a trailer.
He'll
for
have
it.
a trailer for
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
and then it'll be
That's
like,
true.
"Oh, we just want to do this in her honor."
They'll wait for like the court ruling or something, and they'll be like, "We're going to release the movie now."
He's right. They'll wait till he's like cleared, and they won't convict him, and then he'll be like, "By the way, Netflix made a deal. It's on there today. Go watch it. Rust in memory of Helena Hutchins.
Yeah.
TM." And that's basically how it'll end. That's he'll get away with it. He'll get away with murder.
What if we go see this movie and it's amazing? Like it's Kevin Costner Western amazing.
Here's the thing. I'm going to go on record and say this, and I don't care.
We're not going to see it.
No. We will see it. I'm not paying
I'll
a
get
damn
a
dime
screener.
for it.
Yeah, I'll get a screener.
I'm not paying to see
but I'm
this
just saying,
movie.
what if we watch it? We're just like, dang, dude, that was 3.5 out of 4 stars. That was good.
I mean, I'll sit there and I'll be like, that was
Is
a great
that
movie.
Is that one you're going to be able to eat your words on like Avatar?
I'll pay to see it if I know he's in prison.
Oh, okay.
If he gets convicted and actually gets jail time,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and support it because I'm sure the money's going to go to her family anyway. That's
Yeah.
how he'll prop it up.
Yeah.
He'll slide that in there and be like, if you go and see our film, all the money and proceeds will go to Helena Hutchins' family in her honor and her memory.
Yeah.
That's how he is. He's a freaking douchebag. He is an absolute Hollywood douchebag made over. I mean, he is. Gosh sakes, that guy is just such a spaz. I can't stand him. He is the filth of the earth. That man. Alrighty, that's all I'm gonna say about Alec Baldwin. I don't
think,
give
yeah.
two craps about him anymore. But I just, more interesting stuff as that ongoing saga continues. Let's move into our Vices segment.
Picture Alec Baldwin doing that.
Yeah.
Blowing the
good.
smoke off the
That's it.
biggest gun on set.
Off that barrel.
It's like, now you get over there and you stand there and you let me shoot this
Yeah.
at you, make sure it's working right.
It's like Officer Dewey just sitting
Yeah.
over spinning it on one finger and drops it. Oh, crap.
Whoops. Oh,
Sorry about that.
freaking Barney Fife out there.
Yeah. Go get me a coffee.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Oh, I really gotcha.
It's like, oh, Ricky, get up.
I could just see.
Get up, Ricky. I need my coffee.
I just feel like I could just see him like when it happens, right? Like, who poured a damn bullet in this gun? Like I can just see, like, who did this?
He's like, man, that hurt my wrist.
It'll be like
That's exactly.
it'll be like The Office. It'll be a cutaway later and be like, it was me. I put the bullet in the gun. Like,
I'm telling
So
you,
bad.
It is. It's sad, man. It's sad.
it is sad.
It's
Okay,
it's a mockery of justice.
Incompetence.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Sorry, I had to get one more in there.
We got to talk about what's your nervous tick.
Making jokes about inappropriate.
Yeah.
I do like dark humor. It makes me get over sadness. So
I
I guess
did
that's
mine
kind
already.
of a nervous tick.
Yeah, that's actually a good one because comedic relief can be a deflection.
Yeah. Sometimes it is.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, this is serious. Let me joke about it so I can
Keith
get
does
over
that
my
a lot.
nerves.
Yeah.
He does that a lot.
It's a coping mechanism.
He does. What are you coping with over there? Have you shot somebody?
Not recently.
Did somebody touch you?
I do the. You mentioned like when you can't make weird noise, like your fart noises. Yeah,
I can't open it.
I'm actually.
a fart
It's funny.
noise.
The reason I thought about it is because I'm doing it right now. But like I have like
with your butt?
the restless like leg syndrome.
Oh, I
like,
thought
where
you were
I'll
making
just,
a fart noise.
Like I'll randomly like I've done that at the theater, and like I remember one time Sean was like, "Dude, you're shaking the whole thing."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Well, in AMC, when you're elbow to elbow, I'm sitting there
Yeah.
trying to watch the movie.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm sitting over
I
here
thought
like
I was
bouncing
in a jet in Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, oh god, this is real.
So I'm much more like
4D.
At
more
AMC,
attentive of it
it's like
now,
the
so
seats
I'm
are all
not-
one screw
Yeah.
loose from coming undone.
Oh, Brandon like shifted when we went to see the Bikeriders, and I thought he was gonna fall through the seat because the whole thing went.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
I'm telling you. And that seat's probably got a bag around it this week saying it's out of order. They won't fix it for 10
So you
months.
tell like a bolt somewhere like
All
popped
three of the Yurtles have a bag on them now. They only got 3, and they all 3 got a bag
and
on them.
one straight up, it had a garbage bag over it.
Yeah.
And it was cut through.
Somebody opened it.
Somebody
Somebody
just straight up
peed in
peed in there.
Yes.
They did not care.
Our,
No.
our nervous, or was it nervous ticks?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our nervous ticks is bashing AMC.
Bashing something.
I don't know.
Maybe talking over each other. That's all we ever do
Yeah.
on the show. No, I'm with you on the leg twitching. I do,
Yeah, I
it all
do
the
the
time.
leg thing all the time. And I don't know that. I wouldn't call that a nervous tick though. I don't do that when I'm nervous. I just do that like, I guess when my mind's like if I'm bored or I'm trying to like I don't know. I think I have ADHD, so sometimes to preoccupy
I
my
know I
mind,
do. I don't
like
think.
rather than like allow myself to get distracted by something else, I just start like the leg thing. So like I'm doing the leg thing while working on something else, so it gives me 2 things to do at once.
Yeah.
Another. Well, Sean, do you have one specifically?
Oh, I have bags full of them.
Okay.
Like I mean, I if I'm really nervous, it's the nail biting. Like that's the number one.
I do bite my
If you
nails.
see me doing that, I am going over some like
Stuff in your
life and
mind.
death in my mind.
Same.
Like it's something's got me nervous,
Mm-hmm.
or just worrying about something. But yeah, the leg and I would say like a nervous tick would be tapping, or like if you see me, doing a drum beat or whatever, and there's no music playing, that's because I'm trying to work over something. Like it's weird. There's all kinds of things.
No, mine definitely. I would agree is biting my nails. Sometimes it's bad. It's kind of like I like to say it looks like Frodo.
Get 'em bleeding.
In,
Yeah.
Yes, in Fellowship or in Lord of the Rings in general, it's like they're just real like down to the skin.
Yep.
Which is not healthy.
No.
In fact, I've read it has some kind of deficiency apparently. Even if it's a nervous tick, it's like
No, you're.
I don't know if it's like magnesium or
I
something.
don't know
There's
because I
like
used to bite my nails way worse than I did. I don't do it as much now. I've become more conscious
or
of it.
calcium maybe deficiency. There's some kind of deficiency apparently that is related to if you bite your nails. But I mean, to me,
Really?
it's always just it's
Maybe
always
you're
been
trying to-
nervous.
Are you trying to get calcium by biting your nails?
Yeah, it
Let
was
me
like-
eat, let me eat my nail. Well, I don't
eat
them.
'em.
Yeah.
No, it was like, but it just leads to I forget what it is. It's like what
Closed up my iPad. I
deficiency?
should've
Man,
left it
this
open.
This is getting deep
I
now.
don't know. Yeah, what
I'm gonna quit biting my nails tonight.
It's like you have a mental deficiency.
Yeah.
if you bite
It's like if you bite your nails, you're really gay. I'm like, I'm stopping.
wow
Right now.
It's like nope, you are.
Done. Habit broke.
Gay people don't bite their nails. They got perfectly
Other
manicured
things to
ones.
bite.
Crap. I don't know what you all just said. I'm
I'm
over
being-
here.
I'm being a
I have
bigot.
no clue. Can biting your nails
we were on
kill
two
you?
completely different wavelengths with that one.
No, I'm just I'm making inappropriate jokes again. 'cause
Yeah,
that's, what
that's
I do
another
when I
thing.
get-
That's
No, I
another
do.
thing, yeah.
That's how I deal with stress. Sometimes is like
Yeah.
like Brandon said, I'd rather laugh than cry. So sometimes like something really serious, I'm like, well, I'll make a joke.
It's a
Try not to do it to other people if
yeah.
it's like a really like. It depends on the moment too. Like obviously, if I go to someone's
Nervousness,
funeral,
boredom, loneliness, or hunger. It can be a coping
Hunger.
mechanism.
Hunger? Yeah.
Jeez.
I don't bite my nails because I'm hungry. I do know that one.
Yeah.
I know there was something else.
You can look
that's-
at me and tell I'm not
zinc
hungry.
can be a sign of a zinc deficiency.
You got
No,
a
I take zinc
Yeah,
every
you-
day.
Okay, so
You don't
yeah,
have
it
that
could be just
deficiency.
nervousness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just flat out nervous.
there it is. It's
Yeah.
just your nerves. That's
Yeah.
a big one on my. I would think the same thing. Nerves, stress. I notice even if I'm in the car when I have a little bit more time of like my mind's wandering while I'm driving and I'm like sitting there like biting my nails while I'm driving. It's bad. It's not bad.
Mine's
Let
not
me
good.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
This might be too personal.
Uh-oh.
Do you out the window, or do you
No,
just drop it on the floor?
I do it I spit them out in the floor.
Yes.
I do too.
It's bad.
That's gross.
Yeah.
I honestly,
Yep.
I
I
mean,
have to vacuum them up at some point.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
eventually I vacuum, but yeah, I'm really bad
now,
about it.
I mean, every once in a while, it's like if I'll be in my recliner in here, and I'm like, oh, I can go ahead and just like get the nail clippers and I clip my
You
toenails.
just leave it.
No, those I do put in like a little pile, and like I actually.
Pile?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, you got like a little. Yeah,
It creates a pile?
well, not like a huge pile.
There's
but
only 10 of them?
Yeah, but I mean, it's like
He's
a
got
little,
a pile of 10 nails that he's gonna throw
Okay.
away.
I mean, yeah,
Okay.
like especially your big toe, man. That's a big nail.
I don't use clippers very often. I generally I don't bite my nails that much, but when it's time to cut them, I still
just bite 'em?
Yeah, I just bite it off.
I can't get my toenail in my mouth no more. I'm too fat.
That's true.
I used to do
use
that.
clippers
When I was a kid, I
was
did
gonna say
it,
I do
yeah.
use clippers on my toenails because I can't bite those.
I used to though when I was a kid. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I pull my foot up to my
Yep.
mouth. I'd bite my toenails.
That's stupid
Yeah.
of kids. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Even at work, if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm biting my nail and I get like a good one, I'm just like,
Oh, I do that.
yeah, oh yeah.
and that's
I've done that in my own
You ever look at
office,
somebody
and then I kinda
else's and be
vacuum
like,
it.
damn, I'd love to bite that.
no,
You
never
ever
done that.
seen somebody else's fingernail? You're like, there's a lot of
It's
white on
funny
that
'cause
fingernail.
now
I
I
want
got
to
like
bite
a
that.
lot of white on my pinky, and I'm sitting here now
The
wanting
white
to,
means bite.
Now I really like. Now I really want to do it. Like I'm really sitting here like, man, I want to bite this pinky nail off because it's
I think
too
it's
long.
like, forget all the other nervous ticks. We're only going to talk about nail
White
biting.
nails.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I've definitely seen people's who they're not like badly manicured, but I've seen them where I'm like, that nail's too long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you need to
the
trim
pinky
it.
Yeah.
nail is
Yeah.
always the one that gets me.
And
That's
I'm
the
like,
one that
you
I
either,
got longer
you
right
either
now.
snort cocaine or you just have bad
Now
hygiene.
mine's not long
Like-
enough to snort cocaine
No,
with.
it's not.
But I still want to bite it because it's too long.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's different because that's only
I'm
on.
gonna spit it on Brandon's floor.
I mean, put it in this pile.
That's
dude.
all right. My Ronnie Roomba. will
That's
get it.
right, the Roomba will get it. That's
It don't
why I
come-
would
it
just
don't
be
come
like,
in here.
here's
Yeah,
something
it
for you to
does.
Oh,
get.
does it?
I send
Okay.
them in here every once in a while. He gets
like, keep
dirt
put a-
from y'all's feet.
Keep
whatnot.
spit a nail in there.
But
Yeah.
no, I think it's only on dudes though. Like women, if they have naturally, like if they let their nails grow,
Oh,
out,
yeah,
that's-
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's
normal.
meant to
Yes.
Yeah.
to happen. But
Yeah.
like for
Yeah.
a guy, I'm like,
Keep your
that's
nails pretty.
it's like that looks. No, dude, you got to trim that up.
And then you notice
they're
other
too
people.
long.
You notice other people, and you're just like, he's a nail
Man,
biter.
there were
Yep.
some of them old men at like church at Valley Station. Like, man, some of them
had
had
the
some
long nails.
Oh,
I know
yes.
old men let them go.
They let them go. They
I don't know
let
if
their
they're just
nose
too
hairs
tired.
grow.
If they're too tired to chew or what it is. They're
Like
just
when
like
they-
at this
oh,
age,
yeah.
I got to chew my food and not my
They got
nails.
the fake teeth. They can't bite down
Oh
through the
yes,
nail. Yeah.
the dentures don't get
They
good
can't.
grip.
Yeah,
No.
can't. Yeah, they
maybe
can't
that's
do
it.
it.
And they don't
Yeah.
want to get up and go get the clippers.
Yep.
Not doing that.
Or they got those old yellow like
Mm.
nails that are thick and they can't clip through them.
I also do nervous sound effects, or like
Oh,
if there's
yeah.
dead silence and it's just in a room. I'm one of those that like after a while I can get used to just we're sitting here in a room.
Yeah,
just
I could
kind
sit
of
in
doing
silence forever and never give a crap.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't even do that at home by myself.
No.
I got to make noises,
I make-
random outbursts.
Yeah, I
or
sing.
I'll sing songs
Make
that
up
make
stupid
no
songs,
sense.
yeah.
I do that when I'm home alone, and I don't know why. Like in a group of people, like I guess because I'm a little bit introverted. So as long as there's people around me, I feel like okay, I'm socialized because there's people sitting next to me.
Yes.
That's good enough. So I don't have to make noises. But by myself, every now and then, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I got.
When you're in here recording the review by yourself, that's when some of the best songs I've heard have
yeah, I
come
make
out.
songs.
We can't share those on the podcast.
No, you can't.
We cannot share those.
cannot.
But I'll do like a nervous hum or like a just do.
I yell at my dogs.
Like, well,
not
take it out
not
on
me,
them.
Scare the hell
not
out of
me.
them.
But I do. I'll mess with them. Like Ellie will be sitting there, and I'll just like, "What are you doing?" Just to scare the shit out of them.
my God.
And then she goes and bites her nails because she's nervous. She goes and starts chewing on
explains.
herself.
I hide around corners.
Oh
'cause
my God.
No, Luke is he just slowly, he always takes his time going places. So I'll go behind a corner, and when he comes around, I'll jump out at him, and he jumps every
Oh
I'm like,
my
like, I
God,
know you
dude.
know I'm in this room. Like, you can smell me, you
No,
can
he
hear
doesn't.
me.
No, he
but
doesn't.
he'll just come around the corner, and I'll be, woo, and he just goes,
Well, you just got Edie's attention.
Wow.
She's on the
Yeah,
move.
look, she's like,
She
I'm laughing. I'm going to go home and do it too.
jeez.
I torment my animals.
Wow.
I don't really torment
Do
them, but
you have a
oh.
if you have random outbursts? Do you have a word that you go to, like one word that you always say? Like
I think
loud
for me,
or-
it's just always something different. Like
It
I'm
is?
just- yeah, I'm just.
Sean's got one. He's laughing
Yeah.
about
I don't
it.
even, I'm just, I have a lot of them, but they're just they're bizarre.
I have like I guess
What's
a
one?
multitude.
A squirt is one of them. Like I'll just be walking
Squirt?
around and just be like squirt.
I just do like nonsense
why.
words. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I don't know.
Mine's boobs.
Boobs,
I say
boobs.
boobs all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just getting out of the
Those
shower and I'm
boobs.
like, boobs. I just say it. I can't help it. I don't know why. I just say boobs. It's
usually
bad
just-
enough that I say it.
gosh.
I'm comfortable enough around my family that I'll just be like, we'll be sitting there and I'll be like, boobs. And I'll say it out loud and they'll just be like, what?
What?
I'm like, I don't know. I'm just saying boobs.
See, mine's still related to my dogs too, because I think the one I say the most is Dookie, because that's what I call Luke sometimes. Like I go from like Luke to
Dookie?
well, because it's like a
Turkey.
word game.
We
Like
use
I'm pretty
turkey
it's
a lot,
Luke,
too.
and then I'll call him like oh, what are you doing, Luke? Dookie Luke, Dookie. And then now it's just evolved into Dookie. Like, what are you doing, Dookie? Like that's his nickname now. Is just Dookie.
You said turkey?
Turkey, yeah.
You
I don't
say
know
turkey?
why.
Huh.
Yeah.
Turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm not calling somebody that, like my kids or the dog or something,
Just saying
it's
turkey?
just I'll just be fixing a,
turkey.
I'm not even turkey sandwich. I was just be fixing it this morning. I was fixing a bowl of cereal and I was just standing up there in the kitchen by myself and I was like, turkey. And it's just like, I don't know. It's another bizarre random word.
See, I'll think of them
It's
like
whatever
I'll be.
pops in my head at the moment.
It
Like,
is.
I don't know why.
It's mostly whatever pops in my head. I'm sure there's more that like as I'm like when I go home and I'm alone, I'll do one and be like, oh, that's one. Text you guys, it's like I do this. I don't know.
I will, along with what you said about weird names with your dog, I do the same thing with Edie. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll just call her some random crap. And I'll
Well,
just
see,
come up
Luke
with it.
is Dookie. Ellie is words I can't say on the podcast because she's
Yeah.
usually doing something like mischievous, and then I get mad and I'm like, you.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it. Squirt. Squirt.
Yeah, you
squirt.
Little squirt.
Little squirt. Alrighty, guys. I think that's going to do it. Some nervous ticks. What are your all's nervous ticks?
Oh.
Why don't you write into us at the Red Moon Podcast and let us know? We'd appreciate all the love.
I do that one a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I used
I don't
to
know
do
why that one. And I don't even know like what I'm trying to accomplish with it, but I'll walk around and make the
I've done like yak. I've done that.
By yourself?
yeah.
That's Ace Ventura, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. So you borrow yours.
Yeah, he's like
Well, it just depends. Well, no, I mean, not all of them. Yak is borrowed. Yeah.
Yub
yeah,
nub.
Yub nub.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I finally got a
Ba
shirt
wheat
that says that.
Grana wheat ninny bun.
You remember?
I want a
that.
shirt
I
like
don't
that.
remember
The ba wheat. Grana.
Oh, yeah.
I need to buy one. I
Yeah.
bet they have one.
I have a Yub Nub shirt.
Yub. I do remember the Yub nub.
It's
shirt.
it's an Ewok and it says "Save the Forest" and he's going yub yub or yub nub or whatever.
Edie's
Yub
over here whining.
She's
like-
done.
She
Save
understood-
indoor.
She knows what Yub Nub and Ba Weep Grana Weep Ninny Bon means.
She knows.
It's the universal greeting
Yeah.
That's right.
amongst all.
Yeah, everybody. So
creatures.
she knew it because it's the universal greeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
She can understand that.
Now when
Yeah.
she looks back at you and she's like,
She.
Whoa!
It was an invitation
Are
to
we
her.
gonna make out? Is that what's happening?
She wants. Oh, Edie.
Ooh.
Oh, man, that's definitely a universal
keep it
greeting.
PG-13, okay?
Edie, come here, girl, come here, come over here, pup.
He's
All
getting
right.
jealous. He's like, you're supposed to stay in
Yeah.
my lap.
Hey, you can have her if you want. No, you can't. You can't have her.
He's like, I'll pass her around.
No. I do some random stuff with her too.
We're getting a little.
That might be for another show.
Like, share, subscribe on all of our social media accounts. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and Rumble. We're live on both those platforms. Actually, almost all of those platforms every single week. There is that old way of reaching out to us. Tell us what your nervous ticks are. What is that old way, Keith?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
She just went right back to you. I can't hold her tonight.
She's laying down right now.
Oh, okay. That's good. At least she's being pleasant. Alrighty, guys. That's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Otters.
Squirt.
Boobs.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.